All right, guys. So we're going to go through all the games, and we're all going to vote on who is the winner and loser for every game. And then basically, we will decide Kentucky's record together as we're voting on them all. And if there happens to be a 2-2 tie, I have with me a magic 8 ball, and I will shake it, and that will determine how if Kentucky wins that game or not. We'll leave it to
I
fate.
love it. Love
Okay.
it.
Brilliant.
All right. So week one opponent, Louisiana Lafayette. They've been pretty successful the last few years in the Sun Belt Conference. Mark Hudspeth is their coach. I think his name, if memory serves, was attached to the Kentucky job when Mark Soup was hired as a possible candidate. So he's probably not long for the Sun Belt himself. But they roll into Commonwealth Stadium this Saturday, kicking off 2015 season. Keith, how do you see this game going? How do you see the outcome of this game?
Well, you hit it on the head that he's really an up and comer. They've had 4 straight years of 9 wins and a bowl win in each season. Um, Cats are going to win. I think it's going to be a 2 touchdown win. But I will tell you, I'm terrified for one reason. I woke up last night sweating because I had a very vivid dream that for some reason I couldn't see the game, but I checked it on my phone, and Kentucky was down 8-0 in overtime.
Oh, wow. Oh, ouch.
And I was scrambling to find it on TV or radio to catch the end of the overtime and couldn't. So I don't know if we came back and won in the overtime, but still, it was so vivid. I woke up almost sick.
Okay. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen. James, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Hudspeth's like Keith said, is an up and comer, and his name was attached to the Kentucky job for a little while. Very successful team in the Sun Belt here recently. More turnover this year than they're used to. They're still going to have a really strong running game, so it's going to test Kentucky's front seven early and often, I think. I'm not sure how much they have in the passing game, but I know that they're going to want to try to run the ball and get the ball in the hands of their star. So we'll see what Kentucky's defense is made of. Lost another defensive player today on the line. C.J. Johnson got suspended, so a little thinner there. Also, as we know, thin in the linebacking core, and maybe even thinner if Ryan Flanagan doesn't come back from injury this week. So we'll see, but I think the Kentucky offense is going to be clicking on all cylinders. I think they're going to want to come out and really wow the crowd opening Commonwealth Stadium. Stoops even commented today that we might see Drew Barker a little earlier than we had anticipated, just to get him in there and some real game time minutes where the game still matters. So I think that I'm going to say I agree with Keith, and Kentucky wins by 2 touchdowns, maybe 3 if they really start to pour it on, or maybe more. So I think they end up with a double-digit win.
All right. Todd, your thoughts?
Cats win big. They score early, they score often, it'll never be in doubt. Despite what the wise sage, Freddie Maggard, says, this one will not be close. I was able to go back and watch the Louisiana Lafayette Ole Miss game from last season, and Ole Miss was able to do whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. I expect Kentucky to be able to do the same. I'm not buying into the fear-mongering. We're going to win big.
Todd, you and I are in 100% agreement on this. I think Kentucky wins this game 42-14, something like that. I don't think it's going to be much of a match past the second quarter, so I'll also say we win. So for Louisiana Lafayette, we have 4 wins, 0 losses, so that counts as a win. Let's move on to the next week. Week 2, Kentucky travels to revenge-minded South Carolina, and South Carolina had quite a bit of turnover on their offense this offseason. Steve Spurrier probably feels a little bit of heat, but obviously he'll be able to coach there as long as he wants to. James, we'll start with you this time. How do you think that game goes?
I like this game for Kentucky. I really, really do. Even though they might be revenge-minded, like you said earlier, there's a lot of turnover. Spurrier's kind of on the outskirts of his career. I don't know how much left he has in the tank, but he's been a lot looser with the media than he usually is. He's not as fiery on the sidelines. He's kind of almost gone into that pre-retirement mode where it's like, yeah, I'm going to have fun and see if I can win some ball games on the way out. I think that Kentucky's going to want to make a statement SEC early. I think these first 3 games are very, very pivotal, especially, 2 conference games so early on the road and back home. But I'm going to give it to Kentucky and say they win a squeaker in South Carolina.
All right. Todd?
Kentucky will win on the road at South Carolina. South Carolina's schedule sets up so that they've got UNC, rival, game 1. And then they have Georgia, game 3, with Kentucky in the middle. If you kind of look at what South Carolina's done recruiting-wise the last 4 years or so, they've been bottom 25 of the recruiting rankings. So as far as the roster goes, I think Kentucky's roster is going to match up very well. And when you take the rosters and then you add in the experience that Kentucky has with their offense as opposed to the South Carolina offense that's losing, their best quarterback, replacing Dylan Thompson with a redshirt sophomore, I believe he is, or maybe a
Connor
redshirt
Mitch. Mitch Connor.
Yes, Connor Mitch. And you're losing Davis, and you're replacing him with Brandon Wilds. You've got Cooper, but is there going to be anybody to throw it to? Will they be able to find themselves by week 2? I don't think so. I think Kentucky wins on the road and has South Carolina's number. Kentucky starts off 2-0.
Yeah, so I agree with both of you guys too. I think Kentucky just has poses matchup problems with South Carolina this year. I think South Carolina's offense will take a step back. How much better can their defense possibly be? I've been saying this basically since May or June. I'm sticking with my guns. Kentucky wins a close game. Keith?
I'm the outlier. I don't think we go to Columbia and win. I think it's hard enough for us to beat Spurrier, and I think solely on the fact that it's in Columbia, sandstorm's going to be all over the place, that friggin' rooster call that they do, it's just going to be a bad environment, and I think Spurrier gets his revenge. And while I do think if we win, it's not an upset, I don't think we win.
Okay, so in that series, 3 wins, 1 loss. So consensus, Kentucky starts the season 2-0 for the first time, and I don't know. Do you guys know? It's been quite a while, maybe 7-10 years, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, I'm too lazy to Google that right now.
Weren't they 2-0 last year?
Maybe they were, yeah.
Oh yeah, they started 5-0. Duh.
And we're the experts. Okay,
Yeah,
we're going to
exactly.
edit that out. All right, so week 3, Florida comes to town. The streak is the streak. We all know that. Todd, we'll start with you. How do you see this game going?
Florida wins. They rushed for 240 some odd yards last year, 50 times, and that was a putrid offense. I don't see how their offense could be any worse, and they're bringing back, I guess, 4 starters on offense and 7 on defense. I simply refuse to take Kentucky to beat the streak until it actually happens. Give it to the Gators.
All right. So you think Florida wins?
I think Florida wins, yes.
All right, interesting. Okay. So I think I've been saying on the site since May or June, that just like South Carolina, that I think Florida is a game that Kentucky wins. Their offensive line's a mess. They'll probably be starting a redshirt freshman. It'll be his first road game in the Commonwealth Stadium. I think defensively they're going to be very good. I think this is going to be another tight game. But I think Kentucky's offense will just be enough to get them across the line. Probably do it on the ground rather than the air, and get a couple key turnovers. I think the streak ends this year. Keith, let's go to you.
Yeah, I heard some bells in the background when Todd was speaking, which is apropos, because ding dong, the streak will be dead. Cats are going to win. Cats are going to win. Badette has a career day. Commonwealth is going nuts. We probably get a commitment from another 5-star. It's going to be the best weekend Kentucky football fan has experienced in a long time.
All right, James.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say Kentucky wins this one, too. It's gone on long enough. They should have had him in the swamp last year. If the ref pays attention and calls the damn penalty when he needs to call the penalty, then we're not talking about a streak anymore. They had them. They had their number. This team's in disarray. How good of a coach is Jim McElwain? That's a tough job down in Florida, in Gainesville. The fans are already kind of breathing down his neck. He wasn't like a sexy coaching hire. Yeah, he's had his moments. He's been pretty good where he was, but It's not like they went out there and rehired Urban Meyer or got a Nick Saban or someone of that caliber. So, he's got a lot of pressure to perform in year one. And with this team he has, it's not by any stretch of the imagination one of these great Florida teams of the past. They've been on a steady decline. I don't see him resurrecting them in just 3 games. So I'm going to pick Kentucky to win this game. And like Keith said, it's going to be a wonderful night in Commonwealth Stadium under the lights.
Okay, so that game, 3 wins, 1 loss. So Kentucky wins that one. Kentucky is 3-0, 2-0 in the SEC, which I was going through the record books a few weeks ago, and I can't remember the year, but I think I want to say it was the 60s, the last time Kentucky started a season 2-0 in the SEC. So moving on to week 4, Missouri travels to Kentucky. I'll take this one first. I really don't know what to make of Missouri. I just know that they are constantly looked down upon, and they always overachieve. They've been SEC East champion 2 years in a row. Obviously, their defensive line looks like it's going to take a step back, but then they always seem to develop those guys. Quarterback, I think Matty Mock will be better this year. I know they've got a good running back and a returning offensive line. In my opinion, I feel like Kentucky won't be able to beat South Carolina, Florida, and Missouri. I feel like those are like 3 coin flip games. I'm optimistic just thinking Kentucky wins 2 of those. So I think Kentucky loses to Missouri on September 26th. Keith?
I like them to win this game. I think, and you're right, Missouri's good, but they've never really handled us. We've really played down every time we played Missouri so far, and I think this is the year the monkey's off our back. Stoops takes a step forward, gets the program out of its losing mentality, and we actually beat a team that were more talented than. So I think we win the game.
All right, James?
Coming off of 2 emotional wins against South Carolina and Florida, I think this might be a little bit of a letdown game. And I don't know about you guys, but doesn't it just seem like Matty Mock is just going to be that quarterback that just kind of, irks us for the next couple of years? Was he a junior this year, I believe?
I think that's right.
Yeah, but he did, like you guys said, they haven't necessarily played great against Missouri. That game at Missouri last year, it just seemed that our team was completely flat. It was a terribly played game, but, a game that Kentucky could have been in if they would have found anything on offense. So I don't know. Matty Mock for some reason, I can't put my finger on it. I just can't stand the guy, and he seems like that gnat that just won't go away, and I think he's just going to do enough, and he's one of those guys that performs well, and you're like, how is he playing that well? And he always seems to do it against Kentucky. So I'm going to say Missouri gets us in a bit of a letdown game after 2 emotional wins.
All right. Todd?
I will also take Missouri in this game. Teams that can run the ball and then can keep you off balance and make you roll down that 7th guy are going to be a real problem for Kentucky. And Missouri's going to present that type of problem. They're not going to throw the ball deep down the field, but they're going to be happy to take 4, 5, 6 yards and push it down the field, punch you back in your own end zone, and make you drive the football. And that's just a bad scenario right now for Kentucky as far as having to stop the run with 6. And I think we're going to have to end up rolling a safety down, and they're going to score just enough to win. Missouri takes it. Kentucky falls to 2-2.
Okay, so in the composite, so right now in Todd's record, Kentucky's 2-2. In my rankings, they're 3-1. James 3-1. Keith 3-1. The composite at the moment is 3-1. First loss to Missouri. So let's move to October 3rd. Kentucky plays Eastern Kentucky on my mom's birthday. Keith, what do you think?
We will beat the piss out of them. I think it's going to be nasty.
All right. James?
Yeah, it's going to be like one of those 65 to 10 games or something. They've got there was just too much that went on in the off season. Yeah, I think EKU is going to come out angry too, but they just don't have the horses, and I think Kentucky's just going to take it all out on EKU and just completely thump them.
Todd?
I will also take Kentucky, and this is where Mark Stoops is preaching consistency and accountability will show. You're taking on a lesser opponent, and they'll come out and be consistent and produce just like they're supposed to. Cats win, never in doubt.
Yeah, I agree. So that's unanimous. I think the next The next game is a Thursday night. The Kentucky hosts Auburn. I will be at that game, so I'm hoping to see a win. James, what do you think?
You know, my heart tells me to pick this game because it's a Thursday night game. I think there's going to be magic in the air, but, you know, I don't think our defense has the personnel to keep up with the Gus Malzahn run offense. I think they're going to be, you know, running, you know, a play every 8 seconds or so. It's going to be quick snaps. They're going to have running backs, you know, coming in, coming out, fresh legs, and I think it's going to wear our defense down. We're not there yet in the depth area, so I think by the third or fourth quarter, Kentucky's just going to wear out, and Auburn's going to get them on a Thursday night. It's just they have too many horses, and it could get ugly, I think. So we'll see. But Auburn's got questions on defense, so we'll see what Will Muschamp can do. If Kentucky can score with them, they can have a shot. It all depends on whether or not Will Muschamp can turn around that defense or not.
Okay, Todd?
I going to take Kentucky in this matchup. I wish I just knew whether Jeremy Johnson was going to be half as much as Nick Marshall. Nick Marshall was their obviously leading passer, second leading rusher on the team, and that's a lot of offense to try to replace. That's taking Randall Cobb out of your offense and putting in question. We know that Johnson has a big arm, but is he slippery? Can he move the football? Can he put people in conflict like Nick Marshall did? He was that offense, and they still lost 5 games last year. I'm not sold that their defense is going to be that much improved just by simply bringing in a different name. They've got 5 bodies still in the back 7 of that back 5 that are not very good as far as SEC standards would go. And you got 2 true freshmen that are trying to break into that road. So I think Kentucky comes in and hypes it up and wins on a Thursday night, first time ever at home on Thursday night.
All right. So I think, well, I already said I'll be at the game. I'm pretty sure that Kentucky loses this one. I think Muschamp will have the defense playing a lot better by that point in the season. I don't think Kentucky will be able to run with them. I think Auburn pulls away late. Keith?
You know, me and James think a lot alike on so many things, and he may as well have wrote my answer too. It's going to be a special night. I'm going to be there, and you know, that magic's going to carry us for quite a while. But I think, you know, mid third quarter into third quarter, Gus Malzahn starts making us look silly, and they pull away and, you know, probably win by double digits, and it might get ugly. But it will be late when it gets ugly, if it does.
Okay. The following week, Kentucky travels to Starkville to play Mississippi State. Todd, how do you see that game going? Todd, your thoughts?
Oh, I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry. Kentucky will lose on the road to Mississippi State.
You think they win or they lose? I'm sorry.
They will lose.
Okay.
As much as I want to beat Mississippi State, my heart tells me that I've already got them beating South Carolina on the road, and later on Vandy. I just don't see them winning three SEC games on the road, and Mullen just seems to have Kentucky's number. Again, that a team that can run the ball scares me to no end, and regardless of who they bring, you're going to have to bring another body down to account for Prescott. And when you do that, that opens up a lot of running lanes and a lot of passing lanes. Just that matchup scares me, and I just don't see us being able to account for that right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely some matchup problems. You know, if Kentucky had a bye week before Mississippi State, I would feel better. Or if Mississippi State had just got done playing Arkansas the week before, and it's, you know, the body blow theory where you just had a physical matchup the week before, it's hard to bounce back. I would feel better, but they don't. They play Louisiana Tech, which basically should be a blowout. So I'm going to go with a loss too. Keith?
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, for one reason, it's Dak Prescott. The guy's unbelievable. And I think this is the game where we really miss Bud and Za'Darius. I think unless Josh Forrest can get 35 tackles, it's going to be a long night. And we won't get blown out. It'll be competitive, but I don't think we can win in Starkville.
All right. Let's see here. I accidentally muted James's mic. Let me Get this back on. All right, James, I think you're good. What's your prediction for this one?
Yeah, I'm going to call it unanimous and have the Cats losing. If there's been one bugaboo over the years for Kentucky football, it's those running quarterbacks from Tim Tebow and Cam Newton and Dak Prescott. They just can never seem to contain those guys. It's just a constant issue. And even though they played them close at home last year in Commonwealth, Prescott still did his thing, and I think he'll do it at home. You'll hear those cowbells ringing through the stands, and it's just, it's going to be a tough day. Close game, but, Kentucky's going to lose that one as well.
All right, the following week, Kentucky hosts Tennessee on Halloween. I'm not sure where we are on the order at this point, but Keith, you want to take that one?
I have went back and forth on this one so many times. And I despise Tennessee. Anybody that knows me knows that. And this would be the best year for us to win, but I can't do it. I don't think we're going to win. I think Tennessee has too much talent. I think Jalen Hurd is going to have a nice game. I think they're going to blow us off the ball. I mean, they waylaid us in Knoxville last year. Granted, I think we may have given up on the season, so I don't put a ton of stock into it. But unfortunately, Butch has a lot of horses, and I think even though Halloween night rocking, we lose a close one, and probably be able to write about it as one of my mini Tennessee heartbreak games.
Yeah, I think. Okay, James.
Yeah, I don't want to pick Tennessee to win this game. I'm like Keith. I can't stand them. That's the SEC team I dislike the most. Not the most hated rival on my part, but I can't stand them. But Tennessee's been coming for years. The past since Butch Jones has been there, they're coming. They're coming. Here they come. Everyone in Tennessee's been telling us about how great this this volunteer squad's going to be. I don't think they'll be great this year, but I think they'll be better than Kentucky. I think that their defense is going to be really tough, and they've got a couple really good weapons on offense. So I think Tennessee wins by I'd say about 10 on Halloween night. I hate to do it, but that's just I can't see Kentucky winning.
All right, Todd.
I also will have Tennessee winning this game. Tennessee will follow the same blueprint they had last year. Dobbs and Hurd will exploit our biggest weakness is their biggest strength, and it'll be they put up 60 on us last year with 10 starters coming back this year. I think Kentucky will be more competitive, but Tennessee's still going to win this game when it's the final horn blows.
I will make it unanimous, and I also think Tennessee beats Kentucky. I think there's too many horses on Tennessee. As underclassmen last year, I think they achieved what they wanted to, and now allow them to return with even more experience. I kind of think Tennessee's going to give Georgia a run for their money in the SEC East this year. So I don't think there's any shame in losing to Tennessee this year, although it definitely hurts. Okay. So with that, we enter the final month of the season. On November 7th, Georgia travels to Kentucky goes to Athens, and it takes on the Bulldogs. Todd, how do you see this game going?
Well as UK plays, typically down in Athens. Again, this is that same blueprint that causes problems early. The supreme runner, we're in a lot of trouble there. They're starting a new quarterback, but this will be the 10th game of the year by that point, so he's really not a new starter at that point. So you can't use that. Georgia oftentimes will throw in one clunker. Maybe this is the time they throw that clunker in, but I can't bank on it at this point in the season, so we'll take Georgia.
Yeah, I agree. I think Georgia's going to be very good this year on a national level. Even if they came to Commonwealth Stadium, I would feel good about UK's chances, and I don't think they're going to – I think this is the game in this entire season that if Kentucky has a game they lose by more than 14 points, which is a barometer I have myself for how a program is rebuilding itself. If there's any game they're going to lose by 14 or more points, I think it's this one. Keith?
I agree. This game is probably going to get out of hand. They who knows how many rushing yards they'll have, and being in Athens just makes it doubly worse. I don't think it's a game we're competitive from start, and I think it gets ugly quickly and is a long, long day. And a day we might get to see Barker play and Saheem King and some of the freshmen.
All right, James, you want to take it home for us? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm still having nightmares of Nick Chubb and that offensive line from last season and what they did. It just seemed like every rushing play was 8 or 9 yards. So I foresee the same thing happening. Just too much up front for Georgia, and Chubb's going to probably be the leading rusher in the SEC. I mean, he just destroyed Louisville almost single-handedly in that bowl game at the end of the season. So I agree with you, Will. If there's going to be one game on the schedule that Kentucky might get blown out, I think this is the one.
All right. So, quick updates. So far, we have Kentucky at 4 wins and 5 losses in terms of our composite. So, the next week.
Make sure you edit out of there that I said Todd Gurley. I meant Nick Chubb. Not that crazy,
Okay.
I don't think.
No problem.
You don't have to edit it out, but just say.
Yeah, no, that's easy. Okay, so we entered the last 3 games of the season. On November 14th, Kentucky travels to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt. Todd, how do you see that game going?
Kentucky will win their second road game of the SEC season against Vanderbilt, and this one will be a 2-touchdown win for Kentucky. I don't think that Vanderbilt has the working parts right now to stop what Kentucky's going to be able to present them on offense. As far as Vandy's offense, Freebank and Webb, I'm not certain that Mason is ready to build that Stanford line yet and go toe-to-toe and just hammer it down 3 yards at a time. So I think Kentucky will win this by 2 touchdowns and get their second road SEC win.
Yeah, so for me, this sort of feels like almost like a trap game coming off maybe potentially 4 straight losses. Kentucky has to win this game. I think Vanderbilt will be better this year. I don't think they're going to make a bowl by any means. But I do worry about Kentucky go down to Nashville and take care of business, right? I don't know. They have not been doing that the last few seasons. It'll be a mark of progress if they're able to just go down there and, like you said, win by 2 touchdowns. I worry if the game's close heading into the fourth quarter, what could possibly happen. I'm going to say Kentucky wins, but I don't feel as comfortable about this one as I think some of the other people on Twitter or on Facebook, however they feel about it, chalking it up automatically as a win. James, what are your thoughts?
See, I'm opposite. I'm fairly comfortable about this game. Vandy was such a train wreck last season, and Derek Mason inherited a pretty big mess, and it was just rough going. And I don't think that he got close to the type of recruiting class that you need to start changing things around that program. And I understand what you're saying about 4 straight losses and the mental state of a team. But to me, this is a game where, okay, this is a game we go on the road. We can reestablish ourselves, in the bowl game talk. We win this game. All of a sudden, we're 5-5 again. One more win into a bowl. Take care of business. And they're going to be very much up in the talent department compared to Vanderbilt. So I think Kentucky wins, like Todd said, 2 touchdowns or maybe more. Because who knows the state of Vandy at that point? I mean, that by that point of the season, if they're still terrible and not playing well, Derek Mason, they could just give up on him completely and be like almost like Joker Phillips or Steve Crackthorpe at the end of their tenures, and everybody's just like well, whatever. So I think Kentucky wins that game fairly easily.
Yeah, actually, James, I think that's a good point. If by this point in the season Vandy's only got 2 wins, there's a good chance they've given up. I think that's a good point. Keith, your thoughts?
A lot like James. I think that we dominate them. I don't think it's close. I do think it's one of those games where the atmosphere is very blah. It's probably bad weather. There's not going to be a full stands. There'll be a lot of Kentucky fans, but not enough to really make it electric, and it'll probably be ugly in the first half. But I think that, Vandy just doesn't have the horses to compete, and I think we pull away and win, pretty handily. And in fact, I'm more concerned about Louisiana Lafayette than I am Vandy.
All right. So the following week, Kentucky takes on Charlotte. Charlotte's first year in the FBS. SB Nation ranked them 128 out of 128 teams at the FBS level. Kentucky should easily win this game. Do you guys have anything interesting you want to say about it?
This is, to me, the get healthy game. Get everybody healthy, get your minds right, go out there and win some games. No one get hurt, and let's focus on Louisville.
I think it's going to be terrible. I think we're going to play our worst game of the year. It's going to be god-awful, but Charlotte's so bad, it's still going to be a 30-point win. But I don't think we play well at all. I think it's going to be one of those ugly, terrible games where you get nothing out of it except for hopefully stay healthy.
All right.
One of the things that's so difficult, I think, is, you've got Louisville coming up the following week, and as far as preparation goes, as a coach, you really don't want to say, all right, we're preparing for Louisville here, but in all honesty, that's what you're doing. So you end up with a game plan that's really not tailored to your opponent, so you end up really with a bad game plan and lack of energy, and that's why you typically see those really bad performances before a bigger game, simply because you really haven't prepared for that team during the week. And you'll probably see that with Charlotte, but hopefully it's no more than just like a scrimmage game and to get in, get out, and take a win and move on.
Yeah, I think the notable thing about this game is that we'll get Kentucky, according to our composite score right now, to 6 wins. So that, according to our thing, according to our Democratic election, they will get 6 wins, and that will be make them bowl eligible. So the next week, obviously, is the Governor's Cup. The rivalry gets more intense every year, it seems, at least in my mind. James, I know you always have lots of fun things to say about Louisville. I'll let you go first.
All right. Honestly, this is a game that I'll be at this game. I've already got my tickets. We should have had them last year in Papa John's Cardinal Stadium. We're a dropped interception away from winning the game, and honestly, I'll just go off on a little bit of a rant here. I think Boone Williams was really underutilized. I think that he was running through Louisville like they were nothing, and for whatever reason, they stopped running him. And I'm still sore about it, because I think that if he would have kept riding Boom, I think that would have been a different outcome. But anyway, for me, Louisville is going to take a step back on offense. I think defensively they'll still be very good, but they're going to have a really tough time with that offensive line. They had questions about them last year. They weren't very solid all season long. They lost 2 players from that offensive line. They still have questions at quarterback. Devontae Parker's not walking through that door. James Quick's been inconsistent. So if Kentucky can put up any points at all against that Louisville defense, I think that they can win. It's all going to be on Drew Barker and all his weapons. So I think Kentucky pulls off the win, gets them to 7 wins for the season, and we finally beat Bobby Petrino as the head coach of the Louisville Cardinals, and I'm going to be in attendance, and I'll be partying all night long.
Sounds good. All right, Keith, your thoughts?
Did I catch a side prediction there? James said Drew Barker was going to use all of his weapons?
Oh, Patrick Toll, sorry.
I just wanted to check. Hey, if you're going to pop that on us, let's hear about it. No, I'm going to be at the game, too. I think it's going to be a fun game. And I look back at last year, and we lost. How did we lose that game? It just befuddles me on how we lost that game. But I think we win. I think we handle them. I think we finally get that, Bobby Petrino monkey off our back, and it's rocking. And I think it's one of our more satisfying wins in a long time, and puts us at 7-5, which, for an SEC team, that could be the difference in Liberty or Music City or another good bowl. So I think we go win that game and finish 7-5.
All right, good stuff. Todd?
I'm also taking UK to beat Louisville, the final regular season game of the year. Last season, we weren't able to move the ball at all, whether it be for whatever reason. We really weren't able to move the football against them. Got a couple of defensive scores and still should have won the game. Now, we're going to have a few more weapons on offense as far as receivers go that can actually make somebody cover them. And I think that's going to cause a few more problems for Louisville than it did last season. And then offensively, Petrino typically thrives when he's got that big, sturdy tight end, a nice bruising running back, and a real accurate quarterback. And quite honestly, he doesn't have any three of those this year. Bolin or Bonifant, whoever you throw out there, that's just your typical run-of-the-mill quarterback. There's nothing special about either one of those. As far as a running back goes, I'm not even sure which committee they're going to use to run out there this year, but their offense just doesn't concern me whatsoever. And I think Kentucky's going to put some points up. And Bobby Petrino's normally masterful way of moving the ball down the field with that West Coast offensive style, take three, get you on 30, is just not going to be there. He's not going to be able to move the ball on first down. Cats win.
All right, so I go back and forth on this one. So I have a little bit of an alternative take. So I think I've talked to you guys about this before. I think last year's loss, I took different things away from that than everybody else did, or other people. Kentucky had 2 defensive touchdowns. They didn't really move the ball in the second half outside of one drive. I think, to me, that indicated that Louisville is still a better program. It's a rivalry game at Commonwealth. The last 10 years or so, the final score has never really been determined by more than a touchdown or 10 points. So I think it'll be close. I think Louisville's offense will probably work out a lot of the kinks by the last game of the season. I kind of think Louisville wins by like a field goal. Something, I hate saying that, but I think that's what happens. Your reaction? Tell me I'm crazy. All three of you.
You're nuts.
Not happening, man.
You got some Pappy Van Week on there with you or something?
Yeah, I try to drink the good stuff while we do these.
Right.
Well,
man.
All right, so I'm tying up the scores. Keith individually, 7 wins. James individually, 7 wins. Todd individually, 7 wins. Myself, 6 wins. With a composite for all 4 of us, see Kentucky going 7-5 this year, which would be a really great season. Going from 2-10, 5-7 to 7-5. That's real progress. I guess we'll go around the table one more time. Todd, any closing thoughts?
I'm really excited to see the offense be unveiled this week and the following week to see what progress, if any, we have as far as moving the football consistently down the field.
Okay, James?
I want to see these young guns, man, whether it's Chris Westry in the secondary or C.J. Conrad or Saheem King, or I want to see some of these young guys come out and just ball out on Saturday. I think that Stoops and his staff have been really high on these guys, and they've been singing their praises all camp long. Well, let's see it. Some of these guys are going to be starting, and they got to learn fast and learn quick and see where we go from there. So to me, it's all about the youth movement this weekend and all through the season, really.
All right, Keith?
I'm a lot like Todd. I'm really looking forward to the offense. I think it's, especially after that podcast we did with Todd and how he broke down the difference in Neil Brown and Shannon Dawson's air raid offense. I think we're going to see some crooked numbers this year, and because of that, I think it's going to open up Boone Williams to a level where I think he's going to end up the second best back in the SEC. I think anybody besides Chubb, it's going to be Boone Williams. I think he's just going to have a monster season.
All right, well, that'll do it. We didn't even get to use the Magic 8 Ball. I really thought for a second there we'd be using it on Missouri or Auburn or somebody.
Well, do this. Ask the Magic 8 Ball if they're going to go 6 wins or more.
All right, here we go. Drum roll. Better not tell you now. Hold on, let me do this again.
Oh, man.
You may rely on it.
Oh, there we go.
That's weird.
Thank you, Magic 8 Ball. All right, guys. Appreciate this. Had a great time. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll do this again soon.